resources and links you have, and I'll add it to the bit.ly address. But the bit.ly address is where you will find all the links for every webinar we've had, and we have had hundreds. So every Friday you can come, you can bring a friend, and it's absolutely free. You can even get a certificate of attendance if you email me at shellyterrell@gmail.com. So we're going to talk about teaching the Olympics and ideas and resources. Now, the Olympics is going to happen. Does anybody know when the Olympics happens? I know, but I'm going to test your knowledge. And where it's going to happen. Anybody know? You should know the where. London, yes, July 27th in London, exactly. So if you're able to go, that would be fantastic. Now, I think Dina actually, even though she's from Greece, might be there. So that would be very cool. But teaching the Olympics is really great for all students. And one of the reasons why is because there's so much culture that you can teach about the Olympics. And it's just a really great time to not only teach about culture, but as Nelson Mandela was a really, really wise person, and he found that the World Cup was one way to unify people in a nation, and I think we saw that with the last World Cup. But also, as a leader, he saw how sports brings people together, and that's absolutely true. So it doesn't matter the race or anything within the sport or the politics. A lot of times these world events are a great way to teach students about things that are happening in the world and actually get people around the world to notice what is happening in the world and to see different cultures and differences. So it's really a fantastic event. So there are different things that you can teach with the World Cup. It's not just about sport or games, but it kind of comes at a really, really great time when especially teaching about the Olympics, because you can learn, like Peggy says, stories about the athletes. You can learn, we can teach things about citizenship, like working hard, and we can equate this to learning a different language such as English, because it's really difficult to do that. But we can also teach it because a lot of the Olympic athletes, they have to be interviewed and stuff, and a lot of them, one of the obstacles they overcome is learning a language, especially learning English. So these are great role models and heroes to look at and study about. So you can learn about the culture, the event, or the history, and there's plenty of sites out there where you will be able to do all of this. And a lot of these sites I can share with you. Actually, I'll share with you in this mind map of links. It's called a Pearl Tree, and that's where I've been doing a lot of the pearls lately. But the great thing about it is that you can go to many websites and you can learn about this in so many different ways. They can go through WebQuest. They can go through virtual travel sites where they actually get to travel there. Google World has this incredible site, the Google World Project. And I talked about that a little bit before, but if you go to the World Wonders Project, you can actually travel to the different places around the world, and you can learn about the culture, and you can see it firsthand, because when you go there, you can choose any place in the world, and you can go to any building or anything, and it's in real time, so you get to see it how it is. They work it with like Google Maps, but it's like a virtual time travel. You can learn about events or history, and there's a lot of websites out there like Breaking News English and all of these various things that I've bookmarked about this. It's great for any type of age group. You can do this with really young little kids, and I'll show you kind of adaptations on the ideas I give you, because there's going to be ideas, not only web resources today, but also ideas that I've done with my students, and I've taught anywhere from 2 years old all the way to 80 years old. But the Olympics, when teaching about the Olympics and the World Cup, because they kind of go in hand, the same activities, I usually have taught those with the 4-year-olds all the way to my adult students. So I won't be having activities for the the 2-year-olds, but I will share with you for all kinds of age groups, okay? So one of the things that you can do is plan the Olympics for your city, and this goes really well with adult students in that a lot of times for the Olympics, if you read, you can find a lot of different articles about what it takes to plan the Olympics for a city, how they have to change the transportation, they have to do the new city structure, the businesses that surround the area. I was really surprised. I was recently in London and I was being taken through, and a lot of people were talking about the politics and stuff behind the Olympics and whether or not it was really ready for the Olympics, such a grand event, because some people are coming from all over the world and they want to get there. They want to have Wi-Fi access. They want to have the internet. The businesses they have to be in a location where people can just run out and they can eat really quick. So it takes a lot of planning for the city, and your students might not realize this. So this is a great time to think project-based learning and to really get your students to plan a city, what it would take for their city to get the Olympics. And if you do this online, the great thing about it is they can actually submit these. For many cities will bid for the Olympics. And when they're bidding, you can use the students' models and the things that they've come up with to add to the city. So it's really kind of fantastic. You can include math, you can include science, all of that for city planning. Or you can go through the politics of it as well. Now, for adults, you can actually have debates. You can debate whether the things that are already in London, how they planned it and stuff, is appropriate, and you can debate the different issues. So you can do it that way for adults. But teenagers would really get into this as well. So the other thing you can do is plan different types of projects, crafts, and stories, all related to the Olympics. Here you have a children's drawing, which I think is really, really exciting. There are so many websites out there that will give you so many ideas. And if you go to that Pearl Tree, they're all bookmarked. I have bookmarked literally hundreds of websites in that Pearl Tree that give you craft, bingo, board games, crafts galore, projects, and stories. But I will share with you some of the stories today, and the projects. But some of the things you can do is you can actually have students draw and do digital stories. They can do stop motion films. They can do commercials that advertise for the different types of Olympics. Many of you might be teaching a summer camp. I've taught a lot of the summer camps with my English language learners. And so some of the things we would do is we would go outside and we would host our own Olympics. And so you can see an idea of this right here. You can see this little boy. And you don't have to do the particular type. You can improvise. And I'll show you how to improvise in a few of these different types of activities. But it's good to get the students out there and playing, and you can all together have this Olympic game within the school, and you can invite parents to come, or you can invite other schools around the area or other camps happening. And what you can do is you can have them compete with each other, but it can be healthy competition because they're competing as teams. So it's better than just having singles. You can, if you have them do it in pairs and teams, then that makes it really great. You can even make it a global class project. And so what you can do is when they actually do things like running the 100-meter dash and things like that, if you're doing this with another school around the world and they host it the same day or something, you all can take pictures and you can share videos, and then you can post your results on a wiki or on your blog, and they can compete against each other that way, school for school. See, oh, okay, so this was our number 100-meter dash, and then the school over there can compare theirs as well. So it's school against school. It's healthy competition. The Olympics is a great time to learn to play a new sport. So this is something I would do with my students in Germany. And one of the things that we would do, does anybody know what this particular Olympic sport is? It's one of the newer ones that is out there that's catching a lot, especially in Europe. In Germany, it started catching, and it was a really cool kind of sport there. Does anybody have any idea? Yes, really good, Chris. Chris said curling. Yeah, exactly. And you can improvise by getting a broom. You don't have to have broom, and maybe you can get something like a little dish or something like that. And then you can show them what curling looks like. I showed them a video, but you can also teach them how to learn to play the sport by going over the rules. That's the English. Bruno was saying it's nice to get the kids to explain the rules of their favorite sports as well. Yeah, exactly. And this is teaching them directions in English. And while they're learning the directions in English, they have to follow it so they remember how to play these things. So you can even play this inside. And so we would get together and we would try to play curling and they loved it. But there's so many different kinds of sports out there that are featured in the Olympics that aren't so popular. But like bobsledding and things like that, they only get popular for a little bit, but or with a few people, but this is a great way. And the great thing about it is you learn the history behind it, and you also learn about the culture, so you're learning everything about this. And the kids have fun and they move around, so it's fantastic. Study the bios of heroes. Now you might say this is kind of boring to have them do reports and bios of the heroes. I let them choose any type of hero they want. And usually you can narrow it down. So what they have to do is first they go and they have to do the research. So they can pick their favorite sport. I let them pick any sport they want to. And then from that favorite sport, they can research anybody that's an Olympic hero that's ever been in Olympic Games since the very beginning. And then they can say, oh, that looks very interesting. This is a gold medalist, blah, blah, blah. And then they study the bio of that person. I allow them to use any kind of resource. I tell them usually I want a video interview, a podcast. I try to get them to see different multimedia to study with it. So that's one of the things that they can do. But once they do that, once they study being it, instead of just writing a report, yeah, maybe they can summarize everything they've learned, but they can use online really cool tools to be able to role play being that hero. So the information that they study, and I've done this with lots of different things, rappers and famous celebrities and stuff. And so after they've studied all of the bio, I tell them the reason you're studying the bio is because you need to be able to answer questions, because you're going to get in pairs and they're going to interview you, and you get to be that hero. You get to be the Olympian who won. So this is one of them. This is a service called Go Animate, and it's absolutely free. It's wonderful. It's really easy to do. And what I'm going to and you can actually see different in the Pearl Tree. If you go to the Pearl Tree, and I'll put that again. Oh wait, that was the Google one. Is that's one of the ways that you can, yes, exactly, you interview the hero, but that person, that student who just studied that hero will be the hero that is being interviewed. Now you can do it online in a game like this or on goanimate.com, but you can also do it on something like, for example, if you just want to do it inside the classroom, it's really easy to do like a hot seat game, and then the teacher can be the interviewer, or they can work in pairs and they can create questions and stuff about interviewing that Olympian. So that's goanimate.com, and I've already bookmarked some where people have done that. You can report Olympic news, okay? So there's a lot of Olympic news that happens. Last year the Olympics was where? Anybody have an idea? So this year it's in London. But where was it last year? Beijing, very good, Beijing. And so what was the big news that happened at the Beijing Olympics? Because there's always big news that surrounds the Olympics. Sometimes it'll be about sports heroes that maybe aren't able to play. They were disqualified because of doing drugs. Yes, exactly. Ayat says keep a journal of the Olympic news. That's fantastic. That's a really fantastic idea. But last year there was actually a tourist was stabbed. So these are things that are very interesting that you can find out about the Olympics. The Breaking News English site, breakingnewsenglish.com, that's run by Sean Banfield, will have a lot of these news sites that come on daily. So these are things that you can talk about and the students can report about. But you want to find a source to report it, right? Well, I'll go back to this in a second, but one of the sources is Twitter, and I'll show you in a little bit how to use Twitter so you can daily keep up with the news, but other places as well. So what I want to show you now is how they can report the news in an inventive way. So yes, they can do it in person, they can role play, but the reason we have things online, the reason why I show digital tools is, one, the kids love it, they have a lot of fun. This one they get to play in their smart device. Talking Ben and Tom News is actually, I'll show you, I did bookmark the video, but Talking Ben and Tom is actually an app that you can find on, you can find it on Android, and you can find it on, you can find it also on as well, the iPhones and things like that. So I'm going to give you the web addresses for those. You can download it. It's absolutely free. And I'm going to show you a video of the Olympics that they did that. So it's so fantastic. So you can get to see an example. So I'm going to take my voice out and hopefully you can hear the video. Let me know when you hear.
News is about the 2012 Olympics.
The London ceremony is in July and the closing ceremony is in August.
You know that Jack Rowe chooses the country that's holding the games.
You saw how fast that was? That was severely, but you could see where the kids were actually did that. And they uploaded their own video as well. It comes out right here. And then one of the students happens to be Ben and the other one happens to be Tom, the cat. So they even like move around. The cat sometimes falls off the chair. So the kids have a lot of fun doing that. It's a free app, so if you're able to use an iPad or an Android tablet, or if you just have a phone, you can do it with that as well too. So there are sites, GoAnimate, you can do it through GoAnimate as well. But the great thing about that is that they're able to actually incorporate their own videos, so they can have one of the other students go and do a instant replay in slow motion, and they can make a whole entire cool thing for that. This is actually a free app. You can find it here, or if you go to your iPad, iPod, iPhone, look up Talking Tom and Ben News, and you'll find this as well. Invent a new Olympic sport. Your students can go and they can make the rules for an Olympic sport. They can teach the class how to play, and you can actually play with made devices. Give them things. Give them a broom. Give them a ball. Give them dice. Give them things so that way they can go and they can go up there. Exactly, fish tennis, okay? But yeah, there are so many sports out there. When I was doing research on the Olympics, yes, I am. Can you hear me talking? Can you hear me talking? I hope so. Okay, good. Sorry. But if you go and you look at it, then you can see um, there are many things. There's like dancing in Sweden, and they do dance out. There was a wife carrying sport where men and women get together and they carry their wives, and this was an Olympic sport for that particular city and country. So there's people who carry big logs on there. So there's so many different types of sports that they can come up with on themselves. You can give them an idea by showing them these radical sports. Over here in Austin, we had two really cool sports. We had turtle racing recently happened, and we have wiener dog races. And they're so cute because you can see this great picture of these wiener dogs jumping over hurdles and stuff. It's really cute. So there's so many different new Olympic sports. You can tell them, okay, we're going to propose an idea, and you and your what I like to do is get them in pairs or groups, so that way I can make sure that they're speaking to each other and they're talking to each other when they're doing the planning. And then they have to present all of this in front of the class. So they get more speaking available as well. Or I like them to create videos where they speak, or I like them to do the things like the Talking Tom and Ben, where they're always speaking and they're always writing and they're reading and they're researching, so they have all the skills integrated in projects. Another type of activity that I did was actually with my adult students, and this was using two different, well, I used three, but this is using a word cloud tool called Tagoo. Now, there's a reason why I use Tagoo. You can find all the information on how to do this. Unfortunately, it's not working right now, this particular lesson, only because it was for the Olympics last year, and so the website has had some problems. But the great thing about Tagoo is it makes all of your words list, and this wasn't a word list that I submitted. Now, you don't have to do a word list. You can just copy and paste words. It's a word call too. So after you get your word list or your group of words that you want, it works just like a word tool. The Tagoo, the reason why I use this one is it makes it all links. So when they click on a word, it takes them to a website. You have to attach the website. So you can do something like Wikipedia. And what I do is I put the search component. So what it does is it'll search for that word on the website. And so it's a great way because any of the words, it just searches for that and finds all the results. So what does that look like? Well, here I clicked on freestyle. My students click on freestyle because that's what they're interested in. And that's what I put on the wiki. I put it in our class wiki, and they were able to, I embedded it on the class wiki because you can embed it. And then they clicked on whatever the words they wanted to. It's a way to get them to do research on particular vocabulary I wanted to. And this is what it came up with. I attached it to NBCOlympics.com. Now, this can be tricky. You got to make sure that whatever place that you attach it to, you could attach it to the London Olympic site and have it do the search index through that. But the great thing about it is when it searches on it, it comes out with so many different things. So they could choose a video to show the class. They could choose a photo, a news and blog or local news, or pictures. So this is what they read about, and then they summarize their findings, and then they present it to the class in a 1-minute type of presentation style. So this is something I did with my adult students. You could do this also as well with high school students and middle school students learning English. So, and if you want to do a fun site full of games, you can do like, for example, if you do the Learn English site for kids and you have them do something, or a site full of games, you can have the kids, it'll search for all the games under that particular vocabulary word. So freestyle, and you can see here that this is what it went to. It searched for freestyle, and this was the page that it came up with. So it just searches for it once they click the word. And so that was one of the things I did. Twitter is a fantastic place to go and to really learn about the Olympics because Ayat was talking about, can everyone still hear me? Ayat was talking about having the Olympics and to do a search, to do an interview with the Olympians, and that's a great idea. So over here on this particular site, you can go to twitter.com and you can find all of the Olympians that are right there. So that's a really great idea because then you go to Twitter and then you can have your students, after they write up a bunch of questions and you study, that's a great way to study that specific type of vocabulary. But if you study it, then you can go and you can apply the questions by going to an Olympian and have them tweet the question and really ask the Olympian and see which of the Olympians will respond to the question. So they just keep doing it until they find an Olympian. And then you can get into conversations that way. A lot of the Olympians, if you say, hi, we're a kids class and we're in Egypt, or we're studying the Olympics here in Greece, or we're studying the Olympics here in Brazil, they'll definitely answer the question. So just do that. And then you can you can ask them later, hey, can we have a Twitter chat with you? You can make up a Twitter hashtag, or you can actually go and you can ask them, hey, would you mind if we Skyped you? And you could get an Olympian to Skype with you. So these are all really great things and a way to get the students to really see output for something that they do in class. It's better than the worksheet, I think. But there are ways to follow news on Twitter so they can report the news like we were talking about earlier. Summarize, and then they report the important bits and parts of the news, which is higher order thinking skills. So that's very, very good. They can follow this news constantly on Twitter. You can go to London 2012, Olympics, Olympic, or as a hashtag. So you don't have to be part of Twitter. You can just go to these different accounts, and this is where you'll find the latest news on Twitter about the Olympics. That's a great way to keep track of it. Now, all of these, once again, are in the Pearl Tree. I've bookmarked all of these websites, so you can go there and find it. a little bit more ideas. Well, here's some other ideas. You can argue for a new Olympic sport, and you can have them write emails. They can create the sport. They can create dioramas of this. Diorama is basically a real world project. You see it in a box, and it's little figurines and clay and stuff like that. That's a replica of the actual project, what you're talking about. You can create games, board games. Boggles World is one of my favorite sites. I bookmarked that as well. It has bingo games. It has a template for board games. So you can do an Olympic board games where they answer trivia questions, where they do things with vocabulary, and then they can do things. They can make little board cards, and they can have card section where they do something like, okay, now you have to hop on one leg or something like that. So it's very interactive. They can make comics, and with the interviews, maybe they do an interview of a comic, or maybe they do like a short scene of the comic, a welcoming committee. So we have all of these new people coming for the Olympics. How are we going to make sure that we welcome people, all the Olympians, and make them feel at home in London? So these are kind of things that you can come up with. Each group has to problem solve this, and each group has to decide what's a great type of way to welcome. Somebody may come up with good bulletin board ideas. Somebody may come up with an advertisement campaign, all of this. So train like an Olympian. You can have them do diaries where each of them, it doesn't have to be an Olympic sport, but they can read how when Olympians train is very rigorous. They plan a whole entire schedule, and for example, and they eat right, they do all of these things. So tell them to pick one thing. It could even be something like grammar, it could be something like math, it could be something like maybe they want to get better at hopscotch or whatever they want, but they have to train like an Olympian for just a day or a week if you want. It's the summer, so we can have them start acting like that and see how rigorous they is. They're putting themselves in those shoes, and they keep diaries about this, journals about it, and they say what they feel like. They can even keep video journals, and they can say, today I went and I hopscotched for 10 minutes or something, and this is how my things were better. It's a great time to do class projects. They can do podcasts. The other thing is they can do videos and video bloopers. So they can do things like a slow-mo where they're doing an Olympic sport and maybe they fart or something like that, because these have to happen, and the kids will love that, to think of an embarrassing moment that an Olympian has, and then they can recreate these and do video bloopers for them, and then they can report them. So these are all more ideas they can do. There's this really great widget on NBCOlympics.com. It's a great way to follow a lot of the things that are happening. So these are now online tools I'll share with you. You can embed this on your wiki, on your blog, or your site, so you can just constantly get your students to be looking at the news and very interested in the Olympics and following along with the news. And this is very good stuff. This one is really, they can follow just one sport if they want, archery, badminton. And this is a great way to actually learn about all the sports that are there. So one week you can do one sport, the next week you can do another sport, the next few days. So they're always learning about the different ones. Here they even say things about, here's inspiring stories that they have with videos and podcasts and things like that. This is a double amputee who sprints for South Africa and how they interviewed him. They have something here on the U.S. men's team. They have here on the Olympic trials and interviews how people describe their feeling when they were actually in the Olympics. So they're inspiring stories. In this particular website here, this bit.ly site, you can find 10 more ideas, and these all focus on linguistic Olympics games and activities that you can find as well. So you can try any of those ESL activities as well. Let me find it on my Pearl Tree, some of the things that they have here. But they have hands-on things at all as well. But when you're doing your linguistics one, let's see, let me get the actual Pearl Tree. Oh, okay, so here it is. Here we go. And so some of the ideas that they have on this one, let me go ahead and put it here, is that relates to ESL is they actually have where they have medals. I'm not exactly excited about this, But they have a spelling bee, and what they say is in honor of the marathon, you can host a spelling bee because you're saying the similar long range outlook. And so 3 participants will win. So then they compare the grammar that you're doing to different sports. Fencing. Fencing, you use different types of things like you use, so, you have swords and you have sword fights. And so they equate that to things like, for example, diagramming sentences. And then they have swimming. So for swimming, they equate that to going through where you do a quick exercise on reading comprehension. Archery. So these are all of these things. Relay. So they do different types of things like that for related to grammar. And then there are other sites that give you lesson plans. There's Breaking News English. There is different types of education technology that focuses on the science behind English, and all of this is on the Pearl Tree. But also as well, you have things like English Attack that has games. This is English Attack. And if you just Google English Attack, you'll find it, but I've also bookmarked it. And the great thing about English Attack is you have online games as well, and videos and questions to see as well. They have something for Saturday. They have a Swap Mania. They have Speed Plus, and all of these as well. So you can just look that up. And then easelcourses.com. Well, Easel Courses has different things like videos. She has new and featured listening quizzes. The official Olympic theme song, so your students can go and lip sync to that. They can learn the lyrics for that, and then they can play things like Pop Star and Song Pop Star. I don't know if you've heard about that, but you have competitions where you sing the different types of things. Verbs, quizzes, you have online exercises for different levels, you have online activities, vocabulary games, matching games. So these are all different things that you can do for the Olympics. And then you can find, of course, more resources on the Pearl Tree. So this is one thing that I have, and you can find a whole bunch of things on this Pearl Tree. So what I'm going to do is actually give you this Pearl Tree address again, if I can find it. Let's see, Olympic resources and games. Here we go. So this is where you can find lots and lots and lots more stuff. Now, one of the things I forgot to tell you about the Pearl Tree. So it's a mind map. If you click on any of these bubbles, you will get to the website. So you can just keep going through the website there to find it. And then if you have any more questions, of course, you can always go to the bit.ly address. And if you go to this bit.ly address, you can find all of these links, including the Pearl Tree. And of course, I couldn't find a picture of me really doing an Olympic sport, although I did play softball for a while. But of course, you can find, I do, maybe my new Olympic sport will be riding elephants. This is the most athletic one that I could have. So if you have any questions, you can go to the bit.ly side, or you can find me at shellyterrell@gmail.com, and then you will have different links there, and you will have the slides, and you will find the recording of this webinar and everywhere else as too. Thank you very much. One thing I did forget to add was, if you do have toddlers and you host an Olympic event, if you don't want them running around or they can't understand the rules too much, I had them bring in stuffed animals. And one of the things about the stuffed animals is that they had the stuffed animal do the Olympic sport. So that's one thing you can do for really small kids as well. So there's always kind of modifications that you can do for each of these things. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and see you later next week. We're going to talk about summer activities for summer camp. But thank you very much.